Sigarda in the list.
Oh, he's got one in here?
Yeah, one of Sigarda.
That he can Zenith for, among other things. So
Very
just
cool.
Big boom boom.
Yeah, very tough to fight.
And I know, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with Maverick, the Mother of Runes, the Noble Hierarchs, the Green Sun Zenith package, all that good stuff. That's what you're going to find here. But it has always been a little soft to combo decks. And that is what Steven's doing.
Yeah, so Steven's deck, one creature, Laboratory Maniac.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Laboratory Maniac, what was that, in Innistrad or was it in Dark Ascension?
That's an Innistrad card. I've got some friends at home that are probably watching.
Yeah, it's
Ben Sec, Matthew Baccio, that love Laboratory Maniac. Have never passed it in a draft in their entire life.
It's a 2/2 for 3. That's pretty good.
That's true. The old Grey Ogre.
Yeah. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead.
What are the chances that a Doomsday deck...
Why would a Doomsday deck ever have that few cards in it? And by few, I mean 0. I mean, what does Doomsday do? Just empty your entire library of cards? Except for like 5? Oh, that's exactly what Doomsday does.
Okay.
So, search your library and graveyard for 5 cards, exile the rest. Put the chosen cards on top of your library in any order. You lose half your life rounded up. So, Steven Menendian with Doomsday on the play, Island Go. Basically, he just wants to set up this 5-card library of his and win the game by a Laboratory Maniac. At least that's one way he can win.
Doomsday is a very interesting deck. It's not a deck that we see very often on here, as I said, and so, I mean, keeping up with it, we're obviously going to do our best to be able to commentate for you guys about exactly how this deck works. The reason you guys don't see it very much is because it's very hard to play.
Yeah.
If you Doomsday wrong and you leave 5 cards in your deck and you're doing it incorrectly, you probably lose. But for someone who is used to this kind of deck, Steven plays a ton of Vintage, as I'm sure you guys know, and he dabbles in Legacy as well. He knows exactly what he's doing in this area.
So TJ led with a Noble Hierarch. Steven plays a turn 2 Divining Top, and TJ tries to Green Sun Zenith on his second turn, but that gets Spell Pierced. So he just swings in with a Hierarch.
And it looks like he's a little light on mana. Probably needed that Zenith to resolve pretty bad.
So Steven goes ahead and uses the top at the end of TJ's turn. Actually, it was during his own turn. Sorry.
That's okay. Now, the way that TJ's deck is built, obviously Maverick is very good against creatures, and he's actually made it much better against creatures because he has Punishing Fire in his deck as well. Those aren't so good here. This is not the matchup where you are looking...
Yeah, Punishing Fire, not very impressive.
Yeah.
But a Tarmogoyf from TJ is going to put the pressure on.
He's got to get the clock started sometime. And I know that he didn't attack with that Noble Hierarch, meaning that he probably has the Swords in his hand. And I don't think that he knows that does not do very much against Steven's Doomsday's deck.
Yeah, he may not have any idea what Steven is playing from this point, just seeing Swamps and Islands and a top there. Which Steven just used in response to the Goyf, I believe. Trying to find an answer.
Okay, we may not be in the attack. We may not be in the attack step yet. It may have been a little hasty.
Yeah, I think the Goyf is on the stack right now. And he does have Force Blue card if he wants to use that for the Goyf. But I don't know if
okay.
I don't know if he feels it's worth it. So no, he lets the Goyf resolve. Goyf is just a looks like a 2/3 instant sorcery there.
Instant sorcery, yeah.
Hierarch gets in, passes his turn. Steven.
How many fetch lands does Steven have?
Using the top.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he has nine fetch lands to be able to shuffle away and find some new cards at this top, but he hasn't been able to find one yet. But he's shuffling away with Ponder.
He just managed to get a shuffle effect off of the Ponder.
Because his topping was not very impressive. So see if we can do a little better. And he has a Dark Ritual in his hand, Joey, so he can Doomsday soon.
As soon as he has the Doomsday. We don't know if he does, but... And what is that he just drew? Could have been a Probe. Could have been a Lab Maniac. I think it was a Probe. He's just got one Lab Maniac.
I'm very, very interested to see how this deck wins. Obviously, it's built around Laboratory Maniac to be able to get the kill, but I really want to see it happen, just to see exactly what his plan is and how he operates.
Right. Meantime, TJ can just try to put on as much pressure as possible. So here comes the Tarmogoyf. That's going to be 3, I believe. Actually, okay, so yeah, we've just got instant sorcery. So it's a 2/3 plus the Exalted, so it's just 3. Mother of Runes comes down for TJ.
Mom's home.
Quick something, mom's home. I don't know.
Put away the dishes.
Yeah.
So as he's just trying to get himself set up. The nice thing here is that, there's really very little reach that Steven has to play around. You don't have to worry about lightning bolt or fire blast or anything like a Zoo deck would have. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, he's given away now that he's Maverick by playing Mother of Runes.
Right.
So
if Steven didn't get on to that already before, but it's a little clearer now. Oh, it's a lot clearer now.
So he's just, his job is to use his life total as a resource. Draw out the game as long as he can. But the problem for Steven is that the top of his deck and the topping that he's doing, they're not really cooperating. Now, Bloodstained Mire is going to help to clear some things away, which is pretty important.
Get him a fresh look. All right, so Steven thinking about what exactly he wants to do here.
And he's not under a ton of duress. Tarmogoyf being a 2/3 or 3/4 with the Exalted trigger isn't really a ton of pressure, which is pretty nice. But there are some things here that TJ can kind of do to make things a little bit more difficult for Steven. He has a couple even Mind Sensors in his deck to make things kind of interesting. He can Sword of Plowshares, the Laboratory Maniac if it ever comes to that, stuff like that. So even though his deck is really straightforward, it's just a green-white attacking deck, there are some things that he can do to kind of come from left field against the Doomsday combo deck. What's kind of also neat about TJ, well, I guess Steven's deck more so. A Maverick deck typically has a Gaddock Teeg in it, which you'll find in TJ's deck list.
There is one.
Yep. There is one in his main deck. However, if you look at Steven's deck, Doomsday costs 3 mana.
Yep, and pretty much everything else besides, Force of Will, Pact. Actually, Pact, costs 0. I'm thinking about the 5 you have to pay later. So, Force of Will is really the only card I see that
and
can't
he's got 2 misdirections in his main deck as well, but
Oh, okay.
Typically, you when you're playing this combo deck with Maverick, you're like, I'm going to Zenith for Gaddock Teeg, and that'll buy me enough time, or maybe they'll never be able to get rid of it and I'll be able to win. Well, that plan does not work at all against Doomsday.
Speak of the devil, I believe there's a Doomsday there in Steven's grip. Not in his actual hand, but in he's looking at him. It's in the top 3 cards.
And we know he has Dark Ritual, so if he wants to cast Doomsday this turn, he can.
What is that card in the middle?
The card in the middle of the top is a Pact Negation.
Okay. Just having trouble seeing it.
So if he wants to, he has Dark Ritual that he can cast Doomsday and set that up, but I'm interested to see exactly how he wants to go about doing this. And it looks like the gears are turning right now.
Alright, so taps an island. Plays a Gataxian Probe. Show me what you got. We got Swords, Jite, Scrib Ranger, and there's that Gaddock Teeg. I wonder if TJ has any idea what he's up against.
I don't think he does yet.
All he's seen out of Steven are library manipulation cards and a Spell Pierce. Which really could be anything.
Yeah, what I want to see is he able to beat 2 Source of Plowshares? Because Laboratory Maniac is his way of winning.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to beat that?
Well, we're going to find out.
We are going to definitely find out right now.
There's a Dark Ritual. Doomsday. Alright, so here's the Doomsday deck doing the Doomsday thing. Steven gonna set up his library. Now, see if we can find out what the 5 cards are, if the judge is able to type that into us. So he's not able to look. Yeah, it would be nice to find out what the 5 cards are.
Go, Josh Cho.
Got him.
Sounded like you said
I got
Josh
him.
Cho.
I got him. I got a good burn in right before he was gone.
I don't know. I'd like to be Josh Cho to have top 8'd the most recent Pro Tour.
Top 4.
Top 4, exactly.
Top
I'm
4
sorry.
even.
Well, he top 8'd too. I wasn't wrong.
Joe, you're never wrong. You're always right in my book.
Thank you, Cedric. Likewise.
Yes.
There's a lot of love in this booth. I think Dane's gonna find out what 5 cards Steven is going for, and report back to us, and we will be able to tell you.
I want to know.
And hopefully TJ is not listening to SCG Live now on his headphones.
I had a feeling that Mental Note was going to be involved in this.
Yeah?
Just because that's going to clear 2 cards, and when you draw a card, you know, that's going to be able to do what it needs to do.
It's the old Thought Scour.
Yeah,
I guess I'm a little surprised that he's not playing Thought Scour
in place of Mental Note, but he may have a reason for doing that.
So it looks like he may have decided on his 5. It looks like he's just deciding on the order of the 5. I think he just handed him to Dane.
Thank you, Dane.
And TJ is allowed, I believe, to look through those cards, isn't he?
Yeah, he can look through.
I'm surprised
those
he
cards
didn't.
that are removed to see exactly what his deck list is, what cards to play around, all of that good stuff.
I mean, is the mental note there just so it can't be like something like misdirected, because it can only target yourself?
Oh,
you know
okay.
I mean?
That makes sense. That makes sense, actually.
So he did choose mental note. It's Brainstorm, Mental Note, Pact of Negation, Lab Maniac, and Unearth.
Okay, so I mean, there's obviously a way to set that up.
Can you keep that up, just so we remember it? Just Control Z.
There's a way to set. There's definitely a way to set that up that's going to, I feel, be able to kill. Be able to win the game in 1 turn. That's my assumption. But once again, it could be the 2 swords that are problematic. If he had 1 swords, it wouldn't be a problem because it's Pact Negation.
The thing is, it's if you would draw a card, right? So it's not as if it's your card for your turn. It's just if you would draw a card. So isn't he able to get the Lab Maniac into play without passing priority and do something where, well, he still can lose to the swords, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was talking about him not passing priority and using like Chromatic Sphere, but I don't think that's what he didn't grab Chromatic Sphere. Oh look, he also mentioned Misdirection about Thought Scour.
Yeah, Michael Caffrey, I know he plays some of the more Eternal formats, so
right.
I was glad that he actually brought that up. I think the problem is really this: the 2 swords. Well, he has a top and play 2 to be able to draw a card, so this is mighty interesting. It all depends on, I think, the way that
Well, we're gonna brainstorm.
I think it all depends on exactly when TJ makes his move.
Puts the Lab Maniac back, puts a Force of Will on top. Keeps Pact of Negation. That, I believe, was Mental Note. Yeah, thank you. And so there goes the Lab Maniac and the Force. Draws his card. It is Unearth.
He has Unearth. Yeah, I think. Oh, this is gonna be.
I'm going to. Look. I mean, there's. Gonna unearth the Maniac here.
Yep. He's gonna unearth that, and then I believe.
Activate top here. Is that? That doesn't make any sense because the top goes on top, right? But there's no card to draw. Yeah, exactly. He would still. Okay, so here's the swords.
Yep. Draw a card.
Activate top in response to draw a card. And Pact of Negation. That's what it. So there's both swords.
It was all based on the movement of when TJ moved. If TJ had not have moved first, then he would have won.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, that is kind of interesting because I'm trying to think: is there a way that TJ could have won? Right. So he doesn't swords. When did he swords? Yeah, he swords first.
He swords first. So Steven just goes, all right, I'm going to draw a card with top. Then he casts swords. Steven casts pact.
Right. So
and then he cracks his fetch land and casts the other swords, and then he wins. And I can tell Steven's like, I got pretty lucky there with that deep breath.
Yeah, had to get through 2 swords. But yeah, if TJ didn't do anything, is Steven just gonna pass the turn? You know what I mean? Is he just gonna wait until TJ tries to swords the Lab Maniac? At some point, TJ has to move first, right?
Well, no, because all that he's going to do is just going to tap his lands, and I believe that his Tarmogoyf was going to be big enough to get through to kill him.
Okay.
Because what he would do, I mean, he doesn't have to give
so
it.
TJ could have won if he just did nothing there?
Yes.
Really? Okay, interesting.
He doesn't have to give it Pro Blue with Mother of Runes because if Laboratory Maniac blocks, that's an ideal situation. But, I mean, what Steven did, Steven played to his out, so if my opponent has to make a mistake and not really know how the timing works, and, you know, not really just take a moment to think it through, and he's just like, Laboratory Maniac, no cards in my deck, I'm swordsing that, and that's exactly what he wanted to happen. So
yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if did he actually, like, what prompted the swords? Did he say go?
He probably just said go, yeah.
And that's probably what it was. So TJ's like, okay, I'm gonna swords that at the end of your turn, and that was actually what happened. He kind of just walked him right into it.
Yep. Set the trap.
Very interesting. Now, right now, Jeremy's got we've got the text up of the 5 cards that Steven chose. I wonder if we see him do it again. I would like to compare the list if he goes for the same 5, or if he tries to do something different. Since TJ is on to him a little now, I would assume.
Yeah, he kind of knows what the plan is.
Kind of knows what the plan is.
Yeah. And those 5, just for you guys, so you guys remember at home, are Brainstorm, Mental Note, Pact of Negation, Laboratory Maniac, and Unearth. Typically, what I think Steven's going to do is he's going to, you know, put his library in such a way that Mental Note's going to put Laboratory Maniac in the bin, and then, you know, unearth it because 1 mana is less than 3, and then have something set up to the effect of, all right, I have Laboratory Maniac with no cards in my deck, and be able to draw a card instant speed like he did with Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah.
What's Steven got on the board?
Very interesting deck. All right, so his board is 4 Dark Confidant, 2 Cabal Therapy, 2 Spellskite, 3 Nihil Spellbomb, 1 Echoing Truth, 1 Devastation Tide. It's the second player I'm hearing is playing that card today in Legacy, and 2 Massacre.
Now, Devastation Tide is super interesting because what he's going to be able to do with it is he can set it up very, very easily with Doomsday to be able to just clear a board. He also has top in his deck as well, so if there are like a bunch of problematic things in play, whatever enchantment you can think of or artifact, some sort of problematic thing, Devastation Tide's going to clear it right out of the way.
Interesting flavor combination between Doomsday and Miracles.
Yeah, that is actually really, really cool.
Like, is it Doomsday or is it a Miracle? Well, Doomsday to set up a Miracle? I don't know. Anyway, that's pretty much...
That's actually really cool. I think he's also going to bring those Spellskites in as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would have helped right there.
Yeah. It's a way to trump Swords of Paradise.
Swords of Paradise?
Did I say that?
You just said Swords of Paradise.
Swords of Paradise. Swords of Plowshares. Swords of this, Swords of that.
Birds of Plowshares.
Yep. Now,
that's
now looking at TJ's board, I need more coffee, obviously.
We've obviously traded roles here. You can't think of the card names.
Yeah, I know nothing.
I actually like your variant better, where you just say all the crazy card names. What did I called it something? The Golgari Grave Troll, something weird, but
I just say
you
things.
That's what I do.
Either Sworn Canonist is probably pretty good against this deck. Not great, because he doesn't need to cast a lot of spells in 1 turn.
Right.
But it can affect things. It's not
right,
like,
it slows them down. It makes things sticky a little.
Yeah, it's not like if this is in play, it's game over. By no means is that's what's going to happen. The other cards on the sideboard aren't really too exciting. Choke is okay. Pithing Needle is okay. You know, it's not great. Bajoka Bog might be okay, but you know, there's nothing in this sideboard that's really gonna go wow. He's also got 2 red Elemental Blast that can have an effect on the game because it's gonna be multifaceted. It can kill Laboratory Maniac. It can counter a spell. So that's definitely going to come in, but there's nothing here, predictably, that's like, all right, Doomsday, I'm here to beat you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, it seems to me that the entire combo hinges on that 1 Lab Maniac. So what happens if that gets exiled? Is that it?
I think he has no shot to win.
Because there's a couple ways he can exile it. Not only Swords to Plowshares, multiple swords there almost cost him the game. And like you mentioned, Bajukabog, if he's got an active Knight of the Reliquary, when Steven dumps that Lab Maniac into the board and then goes Unearth, respond to your Unearth, Knight, Bajukabog, empty your graveyard. No Lab Maniac anymore.
That's true, and that's especially true if he's always going for the Unearth angle.
Right. I mean, obviously he can just cast Lab Maniac too. But.
Yeah, but if his plan is to always go for the Unearth angle, which it seems like it would be, because it works out so well for mana cost and Mental and all that stuff, then an actual untapped Knight trumps his entire strategy.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if he actually did bring in that Bajukabog.
And it's also pretty tricky too, where it's not an on-board like a Leyline of the Void kind of thing. It's one of those things where then all that has to be active is a Knight and the presence of a forest or a plains.
Yeah, and it's not very obvious at all, so it's actually pretty cool. It's just forced go for TJ, and Steven's first draw step was a Laboratory Maniac, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects his Doomsday pile, if he puts it back with a Brainstorm, whatever he chooses to do.
Right. I mean, if it was in his hand earlier, he could have just Brainstormed it back into the library. But that makes, and then he would have mental noted it away. So we see Grove of the Burn Willows ×2, Enlightened Tutor, Mother of Runes, Swords to Plowshares, and Green Sun Zenith from TJ Heldman's hand.
As far as the Enlightened Tutor package that TJ has available to him, he has 2 Umezawa Jits in his main deck, which conceivably he could have left in because 2 counters on that, deals with, in quotes, Laboratory Maniac. He also has, as I said, the 2 Aethersworn Canonist, Crucible of Worlds, which I can't imagine him bringing in, Phyrexian Metamorph, which I don't think would be very good, Choke, which is okay, because Steven's deck has 3 Islands and 4 Underground Seas, along with his fetch lands, a Story Circle, which isn't good here, a Tormod's Crypt, which is okay for the Unearth thing, once again, a Pithing Needle, which is going to stop Sensei's Divining Top. Right. So he's got some things he can do with it.
He's also got main deck Aven Mind Sensor, which really, responds to a Doomsday. Search your top 4 for 5 cards.
Oh.
Remove your,
That's a huge blowout.
Hey, good game?
That's like a huge blowout.
Seems that way.
He's probably going to have to Green Sun Zenith here for 1, probably just for Noble Hierarch or something like that. And if Steven has, he doesn't have a Spell Pierce, but he's going to do some brainstorming.
Credit to Gareth Tanner on that one, on Twitter. Even Mind Sensor. So Brainstorm from Steven.
I feel like maybe he was searching for a Force of Will or something like that because he knows that TJ doesn't have any white mana from the Gataxian Probe. So this Zenith is probably going to find a Noble Hierarch or the one of Birds to Paradise. So we'll see if he does find the Force of Will, if this is what he wants to fight over.
And he does have Doomsday there available to him off of this Brainstorm. He's trying to decide what he wants to put back.
Powerful card. Brainstorm is always so tricky to set up. There's a reason I rarely play it. It's just very decision laden, and it's a card that I hate messing up. Things can change on a whim, and I just despise getting it wrong. Looks like he put Lab Maniac back.
Yeah, it does.
And predictably, that's the white source of mana that he's going to need to turn his hand on, because we did see an Enlightened Tutor and a Mother of Runes and some other things. So I'm interested to see what he's going to get with Enlightened Tutor.
Pithing Needle? Naming Top?
It's possible. Having a small Enlightened Tutor package is pretty sweet, actually. I mean, I could easily see, depending on Steven's hand, Choke being fantastic.
Yeah. That would really set him, make it very, very difficult for him to really get anywhere.
Yeah, if he fishes out all of his Underground Seas and his islands, then Choke is just going to be, you can Doomsday all you want, man. You don't have any mana.
Alright, so Hierarch in play, passes the turn. Steven plays Flooded Strand. Taps his Underground Sea, plays Sensei's Divining Top. Or I believe it may be pronounced Divining Top.
I think you had it right.
Divining.
Yeah, I just call it a dreidel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just call it top.
Yeah. It makes it just easier. Spin the dreidel. So he cleared away his Laboratory Maniac there with the fetch.
And he's just like, I'm going to Dark Ritual Doomsday.
Yeah,
So,
let's get this out of the way right now.
Fetches up his second Underground Sea. Dark Ritual Doomsday. Set it up. Dane, want some exercise? I said, did you want some exercise? I'm joking. You don't have to.
Dane Young is going to run over again so we can see those 5 cards from Doomsday.
Run!
Yeah, run, boy. And we're going to see if it's going to be the same 5, which last time it was Brainstorm, Mental Note, Pack Navigation, Laboratory Maniac, and Unearth, or if it's going to be a different 5 this time.
I'm going to just write that down. Brainstorm, Mental Note, Packed, Lab, Unearth.
And TJ's taking a good look at Doomsday right now to see, what does this thing do? Why aren't more people playing this card?
Yeah, the thing about even Mind Sensor is you actually have to be able to cast it in response.
Yeah, you have to put it in play in time.
Yeah, there's a very small window. Basically, you need to have the mana up when they cast Doomsday, because you're not gonna. I mean, I guess you could cast it earlier and leave it sitting there on the table, but it would be nice to actually, get you in response to a Doomsday.
Go for the blowout.
Otherwise, like, the Mind Sensor sits there and you just don't, the Doomsday player just doesn't cast Doomsday and tries to find another way to win.
And this is really the risk you kind of take when you play Maverick. This deck is pretty well set up against Rug Delver, other aggressive decks, and some of the more mid-rangey stuff like Nick Fit and that sort of thing. It does pretty well against those decks. It's not here to beat a combo deck.
It looks like the same 5. If I could see that, I see Packed, I see Mental Note, I see Lab Maniac, I see Blank, and I see what looks like Unearth. And that Blank is probably Packed Negation. Or I'm sorry, that is Packed Negation. Brainstorm, maybe? That would be the same 5 if that's Brainstorm. Couldn't quite see, but we're going to find out for sure.
Yeah.
It's at least close to the same 5.
I want to see Doomsday just one more time.
Oops. If I can remember my password. There it is.
Okay, and yeah, he loses all that life rounded up too. That's the one part of Doomsday I forgot. I think it'd be a little too good if you just got the Doomsday and, not take any damage, just set up your deck however you want to. You do lose half your life rounded up.
For those of you that like this Doomsday deck, it's not a very expensive card. It's a few bucks.
I mean, interesting. I know a lot of people have been tweeting to us about, they want to see Steven's deck list. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can get him in. Maybe we can get him into the booth for a little interview.
I think he may have written a primer about it also. He tweeted it. So if you search for his name on Twitter, I'm sure you can find his Twitter account, and you can probably see the link to his article about it. He's already written about it, apparently. Here comes Dane.
Dane's back, out of breath, because he's in terrible shape. And he'll go ahead and let us know what they were in just a second. He's getting his oxygen.
Yeah, we have a little tank over here behind the booth. Oxygen tank. Also Gatorade. So it looks like it's the same hand. There's a Brainstorm. He drew Packed, I think. So maybe Brainstorm wasn't one of the cards because he may have already had it, but we're gonna see. All right, Lab Maniac, Mental Note, and a mystery card.
The nice thing this goes around
too. Is that Gataxian Probe? Is that what that other card was? It may have been Gataxian Probe. It might be the same 5 except a Probe instead of Brainstorm.
Okay.
I'm guessing because I'm having trouble seeing.
We're gonna do the Mental Note.
We're gonna see the same thing again. Mental Note. There goes Flooded Strand and X. It was Packed, Mental Note. Okay, it was Probe.
Okay.
Same 5. So it's except for a Brainstorm, he goes with Gataxian Probe.
And Probe lets him draw a card. Well, it is a sorcery. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's gonna do it now, and then if he responds, he'll be able to draw a card with top and be able to finish him. And so yeah, he's looking at Swords of Plowshares, going, yeah.
Yep. Scoop him up. Steven Menendian with Doomsday 2-0 versus TJ Heldman's Maverick deck. Again, Maverick, you kept mentioning it. It's not really set up against the combo decks. did have a few cards that could have made a difference, but he either didn't have them at the right time or didn't play them at the right